time to have fun with the Quiz Kids. Presented by Miles Laboratories, Incorporated of Elkhart, Indiana. Makers of Alka-Seltzer. First, fast, and always relief for headache, acid indigestion, cold discomfort. One-a-day brand multiple vitamins to assure your vitamin requirements. Tabsin, the improved antihistaminic tablet to check cold symptoms. And Bactine, the amazing new family antiseptic. And now, here are the Quiz Kids. And we're happy to welcome back our quiz mistress of last week. You know her as the famous Fran of Kukla, Fran and Ollie, as well as Aunt Fanny of Don McNeil's Breakfast Club, Fran Allison.
Well, thank you, Franklin Ferguson. And after last week, I can think of no place I would rather be than at the chief quizzer's desk at this moment. And here's the first question I'm going to ask you tonight, Quiz Kids. If I take a cup of coffee from this jar and transfer it to this jar of milk, then stir it up and take a cup of that mixture and put it in the jar of coffee, will I have transferred more coffee to the milk jar or more milk to the coffee jar? Well, we'll try that in a moment, but while you're thinking it over, I want to tell you that the Quiz Kids have not heard that question before or any of the questions I will be asking tonight. No, I can assure you that they have no more idea of what is coming up than you do. Well, let's have roll call and find out, Quiz Kids. Joel?
I'm Joel Kupperman. I'm 14 years old. I'm in 3-8 Roosevelt High School in Chicago.
Sally Ann?
I'm Sally Ann Wilhelm. I'm 12 years old. I'm in the 7th grade at Central Junior High School in Elkhart, Indiana.
Pat?
I'm Patrick Owen Conlon. I'm 13 years old and a 1A at Calumet High School in Chicago.
Melvin?
I'm Melvin Miles, and I'm 7 years old, and I'm at 3B at Norwood Park School, Chicago, Illinois.
And Sheldon?
I'm Sheldon Tommy. I'm 13 years old, and I'm in the 8th grade at Lafayette School in Chicago.
Well, Sheldon, you're new on this panel, and I'm new, too. So if you'll lend me a little moral support, I shall be very happy to do the very same for you. And now back to our first question. If I take a cup of coffee from this jar and transfer it to this jar of milk, then stir it up and take a cup of that mixture and put it in the jar of coffee, will I have transferred more coffee to the milk jar or more milk to the coffee jar? Now, if you folks at home haven't experimented with your own coffee and milk to get the answer, here it is. And let's see whether the Quiz Kids have figured it out. All right, Sally Ann?
Well, I think there'd be more coffee in the milk jar because you take 1 cup of coffee and put it in there and stir it up. So that means you have some coffee in the milk jar, so you wouldn't have all pure milk to put back in the coffee jar.
All right, that's your answer, Sally Ann. Joel, do you disagree?
Well, working it out, you'd say there are X cups in, well, either the milk or the coffee. So therefore, when you take out 1 cup from the coffee to the milk, you have X plus 1 cups in the milk. And of those X plus 1 cups, X are coffee and 1 is of milk. So when you transfer a cup back, of that cup, 1 over X plus 1 will be of coffee, while X over X plus 1 will be of milk. So if you take the 1 over X plus 1 away from the 1, let's see, X plus 1. You get X over X plus 1 cups of coffee left in the milk, and you'd have that much milk in the coffee, so it'd come out even.
You know, Joel, if one were just determined to find out the answer to this question, it would be much cheaper to have someone like you around than to actually experiment. You have the right answer. Mrs. Nancy Davis of Chicago says Queen Elizabeth liked very much to have her portrait painted. Why, then, did she pose for several unknown artists, but never for Gainsborough, who was famous for his portraits of British royalty? Joel?
Well, I believe Gainsborough lived at a much later date.
You're exactly right. Do you know the date?
Well, Queen Elizabeth lived around 1580, I'd say, and Gainsborough lived in the 1700s, I think.
1533 to 1603 for Queen Elizabeth, and Gainsborough from 1727 to 1788. Richard Miller of Detroit, Michigan, addresses his question to you, Melvin, because he knows you have a little brother. And he says he has a problem of watching and entertaining his baby sister when his mother goes out shopping. And he wants to know how you handle a situation if it occurs in your home. Does he?
Well, once in a while, my brother gets a little restless, and I found out a new way. We play doctor, and I tell him that he has to be the patient, so he lays down on the bed, and that's one way of keeping him quiet.
Well,
So
is he a good patient, Melvin?
Oh, yes. Of course, once in a while, he gets a little restless, but it's okay. I managed to talk him into it.
Well, I think that's wonderful. What's your little brother's name?
Laurie. He's
Laurie.
3 years old, that's right.
3 years old. Well, thank you very much, Melvin, and I'll relay this information to the questioner. You know, of late, the chief topic of conversation has been the rather late arrival of good spring weather. But now that baseball is underway, we have something else to talk about.
That was a super-duper game, wasn't it, Dad? Wasn't it? They're in the 5th inning. Didn't
Billy,
you say?
we've gone over every play again and again all the way home. Let's just say the boys really played some ball this afternoon, huh? Here, let's hang up your coat.
Oh, boy, I'll say they did. And the way that guy could run and field.
Yes, sir, you're going to need strong legs, you know, if you want to be a player like that. Yes, sir, strong legs. And a strong stomach. If you're going to sit in the bleachers and watch.
Stomach? Oh, you mean you don't feel so good, huh, Dad? Gee whiz, you didn't eat any more than I did.
But I don't have your stomach. Now, let's not talk about it. I don't even want to talk about food or hear about it. If I'm going to feel like this after every game, I'll stay home.
Gee, Dad, don't say that. You promised to take me to the doubleheader next week. Remember?
Oh, please, Billy.
Hey, I know what you need, and I'll tell Mom to fix it for you right away. Mom! Oh, Mom! Bring on the Alka-Seltzer. Dad needs some Alka-Seltzer.
Billy has the right idea. And friends, whenever you have been unwise in your eating, and as a result you feel upset with acid indigestion, take Alka-Seltzer for relief. That's right. Just drop 1 or 2 Alka-Seltzer tablets into a glass of water. Watch those thousands of tiny sparkling bubbles dance around. They give Alka-Seltzer its wonderful effervescent quality and help to bring you the speedy relief you want from your distress. Yes, Alka-Seltzer reduces excess gastric acidity, the cause of acid indigestion, and helps you feel better in a hurry. You can have confidence in Alka-Seltzer. It's really fast-acting, really effective.
Here you are, Dad. Won't this fix you up?
Ah, you bet it will. Alka-Seltzer always does. You're right on the ball, son.
Thanks, Dad. And we will see that doubleheader next week, won't we?
That's a date, pal.
Ronald Rustad of Oakland, California, wants you to imagine you are a postal clerk. If you came across this letter, would you know where it was to be sent? Now, first, we're showing the answer to our viewers. Let's see whether you children have figured it out. Pat?
Well, reading from Roman numerals, as you might there, that's the only meaning I can get from it. 9 is IX, and 7 is VII. Well, that wouldn't give me much of a clue at that.
Well, no, not that you speak of it, but look again.
You could be sending it to, oh, I know, it might be atomic symbols and numbers. And they said he was a chemist there. It could be. 97, I believe, is berkelium, and 98 is californium. Well, it could be berkelium, California, if there is such a place.
Well, this
Berkeley, California.
Berkeley, California, that's right. Well, there you are. Man's going to get his letter now. Now, James and Richard Bazelon of Washington, D.C., asked us to show you this box score for a major league team in one of its recent games. Now, whoever made out this box score didn't know his baseball too well, because there are some mistakes in it. Can you find at least 4 of them? Let's look at the first 3 lines and see if there are mistakes there. These first 3. Pat?
Well, I see 2 right off the bat. Lowry, Peanuts Lowry, I suppose that is, the St. Louis Cardinals, doesn't play second base at all. I've never heard of him playing second base. And George Kell is a third baseman, that's true, but he's with the Detroit Tigers. He wouldn't...
All right, we found 2. Now, let's move on down to the next 3 lines. Sheldon, do you see anything wrong there?
Not yet.
Now, you look hard. Have you looked at all 3 lines? Do you want to... All right.
Well, Alvin Dark plays on Boston Braves.
Well, just look at the next 3, Sheldon. Look at these 3. They look all right to you? Joel?
Well, the only mistake I could think of offhand that might be in there is that Musial, I know he's an outfielder, but I don't know whether he plays left field or not. He might play
Pat?
left field.
Well, I do think he plays left field, but it seems improbable that Garagioli would be catching. I think he's been riding the bench for several weeks now.
Well, but if he were playing, he might very conceivably be
Yes,
catcher.
he could be catcher, and he could have 6 putouts very easily, because with strikeouts, he could
Well,
do
we'll
that very
pass.
easily.
We'll pass the next 3 and move on down. All right, now, Sheldon, what's the next 3?
Alvin Dark plays with the New York Giants.
All right, there's a mistake.
And Glaviano doesn't play center field. He plays third base, I think.
Third, or you want to change it? Pat,
Well, he
you
could
know?
play second.
Plays
too.
second base.
Mhm.
Now, will you look at the end of the box score and see if you find anything there that doesn't meet with your approval? Joel?
Well, in the first place, I don't see how possibly, well, I suppose if they did score a run in the last 9th, they might get the 26 putouts, but the at-bats over the hits are only 22, which means there'd only be 22 regular outs, so they must have hit in an awful lot of double plays or made sacrifices.
I think there's another explanation to it. Pat, do you see?
Well, no, I'm counting up there, and I think it does show 30 putouts, or 30 at-bats on the board. As Joel said, it would be improbable that they'd have 26 putouts, unless, of course, it was that kind of a game. Let's see.
What would you normally expect to see in a full 9-inning game? Joel?
Well, ordinarily, you'd have 27 plus the number of hits and minus the number of sacrifices and double plays, but you don't get more than 2 or 3 of those in the game, and since 27 plus 8 is 35, that means they would have to have either 5 sacrifices, double plays, or runners out ceiling.
Well, but 27 could be correct. It might also be another figure in the event of what? It might also be 24 in the event of what?
If Miss Ellison, I think it'd be if the home team was leading going into the top half of the ninth.
That's
of course,
right.
they don't bat in the last of the ninth.
And how about another listing there that I think you might question? Reading the little footnote. If Howard and batted for Paholsky and the Pat?
I believe they usually tell what he did.
That's right.
Flied out or ground out.
And he'd be
We know he
listed as
didn't get a hit, but
Joel?
Also, it seems to me that if Howerton batted for Puholowski in the 7th inning, they'd have another pitcher in there.
Well, that's what I say. This is going to be great for me because I have to get my baseball information by ear up until the time that vacation really sets in, so I'll appreciate any fine information that you fellows may be able to give me. On to the next one, and this one is from Mrs. Sandra Kelly of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Imagine this photograph were a real painting and someone tried to sell it to you as an original. Why would you immediately scream fraud? Sally Ann?
Well, that's Whistler's mother, and I think in the original painting she was turned the other way.
The position is
Facing the other
reversed.
way.
That's right. All right, now, how about this early American flag as pictured here? And here's the answer for the folks watching. Kids, do you know the answer, Sheldon?
If that was an early American flag, then that would be the 13 original states. Well, the stars were placed in a circle. In this one.
Oh, well, now, Melvin, would you like to add something?
I was going to say that these stars would be placed in a circle, too.
And,
This is-
Joel?
this is-
Pardon me, Melvin.
Well,
Did you have something else to say, dear?
No, I don't.
All right, Joel?
I noticed 15 stars, and I believe when the 15th state was admitted, instead of raising the number up to 15 stars, they decided, no, that's right. My mistake. Oh, that's right, would have 15 stripes then.
All right, Pat?
well, I was just going to say that they kept adding on stripes as soon as the state was admitted until they got to the number 20, and then they started to have a couple more, and they figured it'd be kind of a long flag, so they decided they just put the original 13 stripes, and then as many add a star every time a state was admitted to the Union. I think
And
that's
because at no time did the flag ever have 13 stripes and 15 stars.
That's right.
Right? All right, shall we pass on to the next one? Now, this should be interesting to me. I'll have fun on this one. Mrs. Claire Peters of Minneapolis, Minnesota, says that one of her favorite people is Aunt Fanny of the Breakfast Club. And so she'd like to hear Aunt Fanny have a gossipy little chat with some famous woman from American history. And from the conversation, you're to figure out to whom Aunt Fanny is speaking. Now, just a minute, we'll have to get Aunt Fanny all set. And because I don't believe she's going to have time to go over and make this call in person, I'll just take a little poetic license and we'll call her on the telephone. Excuse me, I'll go to the prop room. Ready? Curtain. Hello? Hello, Abigail. Say, I know you've been busy. Well, house cleaning, Well, no, I don't know the former tenant, but I've seen her. She smoked a corn cob pipe. Oh, why, he chewed. Oh, and the floor. Oh. Yeah, well, see, tell me how the cook is doing with the new range. Jing, ain't that something? Wants to cook in the fireplace. Well, let's get used to it. I say now, I wanted to ask you something. It's really none of my business, and I don't want to pry, but I just must come out flat-footed and ask you, is it true that you have had a bathtub put in your house? Well, what will they think of next? Yeah, well, say, I've got to go now. Yes. Goodbye. Back to the prop room. All right. I think Sally Ann was first.
Well, that would probably be Abigail Adams. In with her newfangled inventions with a bathtub.
Pat, had you another idea? Thank you,
Well,
Sally Ann.
that could possibly be, but I think it'd be more likely to be Abigail Powers Fillmore, who was President Fillmore's wife. And I'd think of President Taylor chewing tobacco more than I would George Washington.
You're absolutely right. And while we don't know that they did have the very first bathtub, we know that they had a bathtub anyway. Well, Aunt Fanny's had her say. Let's let someone else talk.
Have you had a headache lately? Well, the next time a headache makes you miserable, think first of Alka-Seltzer for fast relief. Always depend on Alka-Seltzer. First, fast, and always. That glass of sparkling Alka-Seltzer contains one of the world's most effective pain-relieving agents. And it's already dissolved when you take it. That means Alka-Seltzer is ready to go to work instantly to give you really fast relief. Just remember, the next time you have a headache, when you want relief in a hurry, take Alka-Seltzer. First, fast, and always.
Mrs. Ruth Ann King of Cleveland, Ohio, says she's been discussing vacations with her husband, and he thinks they should take their vacations separately, and she would like to take them together. Which do you think is a better plan? Melvin, what would your idea be on this problem?
I think that they ought to all have it together, and they all could enjoy themselves, and it would be fair.
You think it's more fair to do it this way?
I think so.
Well, Sheldon, what do you think?
Well, if the man and wife have been taking vacations together for, a long time, well, they might think it's nice if they took it separately for once.
What would you say about the problem of taking the children along with them? Now, supposing the father decides that he wants to go fishing and the mother chooses a quite different vacation spot, who should take the children?
Well, it depends on who wears the pants in the family.
Well, that's one way of settling it. Joel, have you a different idea?
Well, the mother's the one that usually takes care of the children, so I think in such a situation, she should take them along. But I don't think they should take their vacation separately. It just seems like a better course to take it together.
The family to be together. Sally Ann?
Well, about taking the children, like if the husband is going fishing, like you said, and they have a couple boys in the family, the boys would probably rather go fishing with the father rather than go shopping someplace with the mother. But if they have girls, the girls will probably want to go shopping with the mother.
That's
and I
fair.
think it might be good to take it separately. Well, just for a change, but yeah, it usually works out better if they take it together.
Thank you, Sally Ann. Pat?
Well, I'd agree with the rest of them. I think it would depend on whether they had any children or not and whether their children were boys. If they were girls, naturally, they probably wouldn't want to go, or if they were small boys, actually, they wouldn't want to go along with the father if he was going fishing because they'd only get in his way and they'd become exasperated. And I always think it's better for the family to take a vacation together, and providing the father shows them a good time and doesn't run off to golf courses and fishing holes all the time. I think it'd be better to take it together. Yes, I guess they do.
Thank you, Pat. Melvin?
Well, I think on the who should take the children, after all, the mother wants a vacation, and I know that the mothers are the ones who are always taking care of the children, so I think no matter whether they have girls or boys, I think that the father ought to take care of them so the mother could have a vacation.
To have a little vacation. Yes. Well, Melvin, that's most considerate, and I know there'll be many mothers who will sing your praises, but very loudly. Thank you. Mrs. R.M. Colby of Worthington, Missouri, wants you to imagine that an ancient caveman came to visit you and signed your guest book in hieroglyphics, using picture writing to signify the abbreviation of his home state. From what state would he have come if he drew this picture? And here's the answer for the folks watching. An idea, Joe?
Well, there's a doctor there, so you might say MD, Maryland.
That's right, that's one. Does anyone think of another? The doctor is there. He's there for a very good reason, probably. It's quite understandable that someone might be ill.
Oh.
What would that be, Sheldon?
Oh, the Illinois. Well, I thought of a different one. It's kind of corny, because there are feet and could be Corntucky.
I think that is a little far-fetched, but very interesting, and thank you very much. How about if you signed this picture address? The folks at home can see the answer. Melvin?
Well, that's what I know it's Ark, so I think that could be Arkansas.
I'm very sure it is, and thank you very much. And here is the last address signed by your guest, and we'll show you folks the answer, too. Pat?
Well, that would probably be PA, Pennsylvania. It'd be Pa.
I think you're very bright, because I didn't get it at all. And while we're on the subject of hieroglyphics, Alice Dooling of Jennings, Missouri, points out that it's one of the trickiest words in the English language to spell. Would any of you like to try spelling hieroglyphics? And we'll let our viewers check your spelling. Sheldon?
Hieroglyphics would, I think, would be spelled Hieroglyphics.
That's exactly right, and thank you very much. Mrs. Delbert Van Skiver of Camden, Ohio, wants you to imagine that you are in a mythological forest, and the heads of strange-looking animals are peering out at you. You are to identify each one and tell us what kind of a body you would expect to see if it actually did step out in front of you. And let's take a look at our first animal, and we'll show the answer to the folks watching. Sally Ann?
Well, that is a unicorn, and I think it's just like a horse, the body of a horse.
The body of a horse.
And all except it has this little unicorn.
What kind of legs or feet might it have?
I suppose regular horse's feet.
Well, it might be a cloven kind of hoof, or some are shown with the... Sheldon, you know?
Well, I wasn't thinking that, but the unicorn, of course, is mythological, and, well, there is an animal that resembles it. Well, it could be the wild beast. It resembles a unicorn.
Well, it is a unicorn. We were just figuring if we met one tomorrow, we'd want to be able to recognize him, and we thought we'd ask. You might very well have a feet that resemble an elephant, and the tail of a lion or of a boar. All right, now here's the second strange-looking creature that Mrs. Van Skiver wants you to meet, and we'll fill in the answer for the folks at home. Pat?
Well, I was thinking it could be a griffin, possibly.
No, it is a griffin.
It is a griffin. Well, I remember it's a strange conglomeration, and I can't think of exactly what is underneath there.
Well,
I think it's the feet of a lion. Of course.
The body of a lion.
Body of a lion.
And the head and wings of
a regular bird. And I think that he had claws on his feet.
Sheldon?
Or its feet.
I think it had a knob at the end of its tail.
Well, I just never happened to see one from that distance. I don't really know, but I can see where he might very well have had. The head and the wings of an eagle, I believe. All right. Mary H. told... Oh. Well, there's the bell. That means it's time for the judges to get busy and total up the scores. And while they do, Franklin Ferguson will tell you about the Alka-Seltzer Awards given away every week.
Here is the Alka-Seltzer Award for every question that's answered correctly on our program. A Zenith clock radio. This wonderful Zenith turns on and off automatically. It will wake you up with music and even start your morning coffee right on time. If your question is answered correctly, one of these Zenith clock radios is yours. If your question stumps the quiz kids, the Alka-Seltzer Award is the Zenith television set. This is the Zenith Buchanan with a new super range chassis to ensure the ultimate in performance. The big B-size giant circle screen that gives a 105 square inch picture. And best of all, this Zenith, like every Zenith television set, has built-in provision for tuner strips to receive the new ultra-high frequencies that you've been hearing so much about lately. Send in a question, friends, and try for one of these fine Zeniths. Send your questions to Quiz Kids TV, Box Y, Chicago 77, Illinois.
Before I read the judge's report, Quiz Kids, I want to remind you that win or lose, you will each receive a $100 savings bond from the makers of Alka-Seltzer to help you with your future education. Now then, let's see. The judges say that Pat was first, Joel second, and Sheldon third. That means you three Quiz Kids will be back next week to compete with Naomi Cooks, age 12, and Mary and Jimmy Finch, who are so very young. They will both sit in the same chair, and we will count them as one contestant. Now, folks, I have something rather sad to tell you. While on vacation, Joe Kelly became ill, and he's in the hospital. He'll be all right, but the doctors tell us that he must not return for a couple of months. However, if you should like to drop him a line, and I'm sure you will, you can reach him at the Montgomery Hospital in Battle Creek, Michigan. He's asked me to stay on in his absence, and I'm delighted to do so because of my friendship for Joe and because I'm a real Quiz Kid fan. So I plan to be back next week with these wonderful kids, and I hope you will be too. Plan on it, won't you? Good night, kids.
Bye, Miss Allison.
Good night, folks.
Friends, when you burn yourself, remember to bathe that burn with Bactine. Yes, B-A-C-T-I-N-E. Bactine, the gentle, modern first aid treatment for burns. It's soothing and cooling to the burned area of the skin. It reduces pain, and the germ-killing action of Bactine helps prevent infection and thus promotes healing. Get a 30 or 70-cent sized bottle of Bactine at any drugstore. Keep Bactine handy, and when you burn yourself, bathe that burn with Bactine. Read the descriptive folder that comes with Bactine for its many, many other healthful uses in your home. Remember, B-A-C-T-I-N-E. Bactine. Alka-Seltzer presents the Quiz Kids next week at this same time. This is Franklin Ferguson speaking from Chicago.